Imprisoned on the planet Sakaar, Thor must race against time to stop Ragnarok and save Asgard from total destruction at the hands of his powerful sister, the goddess of death, Hela, in this week's movie, Thor Ragnarok. Hi, I'm Mark, your host.
And I'm Anthony, your other host.
And this is Buddy Movies, the place where buddies talk about movies.
All right.
Sweet.
Welcome to a new episode of Buddy Movies.
You always say something like that.
I always do. Even though we already have technically our introductions, already pre-filmed.
It's all good.
It's
whatever.
You get a double introduction. Oh yeah.
Unless I edit it out.
Unless you edit it out, you can do it.
Unless I edit it out.
You can make anything you want in the editing room. Let's see what's been happening recently.
I'm glad that we don't butcher it, because we could literally just make each other look like idiots.
Oh yeah,
because you argue your pro, you edit your pro, I edit my pro, so I could literally just make your argument look stupid. Mm-hmm. But we don't do that because
we don't,
because we're fair.
Exactly, we try to be fair and present both sides equally. And yeah. So, let's see what's been happening recently. Been getting some good footage with my drone. We're very excited about my drone.
Oh yeah, that footage was sick.
I showed you, beautiful. And that was the footage I even showed you. Like that wasn't even the highest quality footage I could actually shoot. I found out I wasn't even filming in the highest. So I mean, I'm pretty excited about it. So
yeah, it's pretty sick. I got some new swag that I'm going to show you right now.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Since I'm now the supervisor at my job, I figured I needed some.
Oh my goodness. Look at that.
I got a binder for the office.
Wow.
You open it up. I mean, on the back it says Dunder Mifflin Paper Company.
Yeah.
And then you open it up. It's got all sorts of office memorabilia things.
It's
amazing.
Awesome.
And then it came with a notebook.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, yes. It's got Dwight. Determined worker, intense, good worker, hard worker, terrific. Yeah, I thought that was perfect.
Oh,
and then the thing that actually sold me on this piece is just this folder here with Michael Scott.
There it is. Whatever be feared or loved. Easy. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Yes. You're kind of seeing the reflection of my computer setup here in it.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Oh, that's great.
So I was so happy when I found that. I put it down. I was like, no, I'm not going to get that. That's a waste of money. And then my son's like, why not? And I was like, you're a bad influence.
It's too good to pass up.
It was only like $4 at Walmart.
Oh,
so I was like, yeah, I'm doing that.
There you go.
Figure maybe I'll use that for planning my my TikTok or YouTube series or whatever if somehow I manage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Figure I'll do that. Write that stuff down in there.
Mm-hmm. So you finished Loki?
Yes, I finished Loki. Oh, it's so nice that we finished Loki and seen this movie in the same week, because it's like, because Thor Ragnarok's really where the movie where Loki, in my view, gets redeemed, where he actually becomes a good guy, or
at least somewhat.
Yeah, at least the more leaning towards good than bad. Right. Every other time it's he's trying to kill Thor, or he's trying to take over Earth, or he's trying to take over the throne. He ends like Thor 2 having taken over the throne,
right?
And so impersonating Odin. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So Loki, that was
big setup for season 2 as well. And I heard
big setup for season 2, but big setup for all of the MCU going forward, because this is their new Thanos, Kang the Conqueror, and that's who the actor, I forget his name.
Yeah, I forget his name too.
But yeah, the guy at the end there, he's Kang the Conqueror. So you're going to be dealing with him for probably until phase 6.
A long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I honestly don't think Loki could have existed without Thor Ragnarok. Just a little segue into my defense for the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Little, not segue, but a
But
little
yeah.
glimpse.
Right. What else did I watch recently? I actually watched The Tomorrow War on Amazon Prime. Amazon's new original movie that came out with Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
It's sci-fi,
How was
sci-fi
it?
action. I actually kind of liked it. It's
Okay.
very very Edge of Tomorrow like it definitely takes off from other movies like Edge of Tomorrow, primarily Edge of Tomorrow, but I the alien design in it was fantastic. One of my coworkers recommended the movie to me, and he said, don't watch the trailers, don't watch anything. Let the alien design surprise you," and it really actually paid off. Like
Okay.
it was one of the more unique alien designs I've seen in recent years. Like I was very impressed. The story,
Is that
it's
the one
oh,
where
go
they
ahead.
completely replaced the character digitally?
Um, I
Is
don't think
is
so.
No, it's not. Okay.
I don't think so. You replaced the main character? What do you mean?
Not
Like
the main
who?
character. There was a movie. Is Jet Reno in that one? No.
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
But yeah, but even like Chris Pratt, I haven't really seen a lot of Chris Pratt outside of his comedic roles, but he was good in this movie. As in a dramatic role, he was actually like you bought it. Like he was actually good. I was impressed. J.K. Simmons has a good supporting role. Cinematography is pretty good. Like I was thoroughly entertained. Like there's some cheesy moments here and there, but overall, like it does its job of holding your attention and it's entertaining. I honestly would have actually liked to see it on the big screen, I think, because of the action sequences. Like I was
Hmm.
looking at all these fight sequences with the aliens. I was like, I wish I could see this on the big screen, But yeah, I recommend it for checking out. It's definitely not one I would, go out and buy or my new favorite sci-fi movie, but it's still like it's as an entertaining movie, like it definitely does a job. So I was happy with that.
I
Yep.
just realized I messed something up.
What did you?
It's not Jet Reno. It's Tig Notaro who I'm talking about.
Oh,
Jet Reno's the name of her character in Star Trek Discovery. That's why I couldn't find her. Okay, no, I guess that movie that I'm thinking of was Army of the Dead. Okay.
okay. I did watch that one too. Yeah.
Okay, in Army of the Dead, she is completely replaced another actor digitally. Like there was another guy who filmed and did every single thing in that movie.
Wow.
And then they replaced him with her because I guess it was, I forget what the guy, but he was like brought up on charges or something for like being with underage girls or something, like sending
I see.
Snapchats. I forget Chris Diala or Diala. I forget how to pronounce his name, but he's some comedian guy. So
Yeah.
they completely edited him out of the movie and put Tig Notaro in there. I thought that was the Tomorrow War, but I guess it was this Army of the Dead movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, been working a lot.
Mm-hmm. Getting you have to be there what 7 a.m.
Not always. Sometimes it's 8. Sometimes, I mean, my job right now is to. I'm basically there for whatever the program needs.
Yeah.
So, and
Speak.
the weird thing is, right now I'm making up my own schedule. So, like the one day I was going to, like tomorrow, I was supposed to come in at 10 a.m., but I'm going in at 7 tomorrow just because I think it's better for what they actually need me for.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
but
actually
yeah,
want to tell our listeners what your new job is? If you feel, because I'm not sure. I don't think they know. If you feel comfortable.
yeah, I mean, I'm okay with telling that. I need to silence this like I always do because I always forget. Yeah, I'm working at a home for people with developmental disabilities. I've actually worked in that field since 2005. Took little breaks here and there for other things, whether it was when I was in school. I mean, even when we were going to Messiah, I was working for the same company, actually, the company I'm working
Okay.
for right now. Um, I just finally went back and I applied for a supervisor position and they took me in. And actually, what was it? I found out less than a week ago. So less than the last time since the last time we filmed, I found out that they didn't just hire me as a residential supervisor. They hired me as a residential supervisor level 2 because there's 3 levels to it, 1, 2, and 3. And since I have so much experience in the field, they just started me off at the higher level. So it's actually more pay than I
Nice.
thought I was going to get. And I'll need less experience to get to the next level and get the next raise and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's actually working out pretty well. So yeah, I can't talk too much about it just because like specifics of people and HIPAA laws and things like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's
yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I've done that. I have 9 actual years where I have worked for 4 different companies doing that, but I've been doing it since 2005, so 17 years
yeah.
in that field, back and forth in that field.
Right.
So yeah.
Good.
How's work going for you? You said it was rough today.
It was rough today. Yeah, the dimmer check, which was like basically what we do is after the shows end, we take one night. Or it's actually 2 nights a week, but you only have to sign up for one night a week, where you stay after shows for about an hour and a half. Usually it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, where we basically check all the lights, make sure they're all working and working properly. The gels are fine and everything like that. And I just went up in the lift tonight, and it was just trying to get an automated like a moving light, which they're pretty heavy and they can be very cumbersome and not want to come down very easily. And the one tonight was just not fun at all.
So you guys had a show tonight?
They rough. We had 2 shows today, but we we had to change it for the shows tomorrow. They wanted to have it out by the time we have shows tomorrow.
I don't know why. I just assumed like the nights you did shows, you didn't get out to like midnight.
That's only on Fridays and Saturdays. I get off like at 9:45 p.m. Those are the only days we have later. We have 7 p.m. shows. So
okay.
Yep. But yeah.
Well, so Thor Ragnarok.
I'll start off just with the stats and let you get into all the pros of this movie. Written by
pros, as if it's not good.
We'll get into that, whether it's as good as people say or not. But Thor Ragnarok, written by Eric Pearson, Craig Kyle, and Christopher L. Yost, and directed by Taika Waititi, who also did some of his other movies. He did Jojo Rabbit,
which we're going to cover later.
Which you will actually, yes.
And I'll be defending that one as well.
You will be.
It's like he's one of those directors you don't like, I guess.
It is. It doesn't have a good string here for me here. He did Jojo Rabbit. What other ones has he done? I'm not even sure. He's done a couple other ones, I believe. But
just a couple.
Just a couple. What's a couple?
Thor Ragnarok, Hunt for the Wilder People.
Okay,
We do in the Shadows. He's doing Flash Gordon.
Okay,
which is coming up. Yeah, he's doing the next Thor, Love and Thunder.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And apparently, there's a Star Wars film that I don't know if that's actually ever going to happen because there's been a lot of people who've had Star Wars films put under their name, and whether or not they actually come to fruition, who knows? But yeah, a lot of his stuff is more like arty pieces. Thor Ragnarok's really his first break into the mainstream.
Yeah, it's kind of a big surprise for a lot of people. So this one got no nominations here, no Oscar or Golden Globe nominations. Not very surprised by that one. It grossed $853.9 million worldwide on a $180 million budget, so a pretty typical box office gross for a Marvel film. It's close to $1 billion here. You already provided kind of the background what the story is, so there you go. So I'll let you dive right into it. What do you like about Thor Ragnarok?
What do I like about Thor Ragnarok? Well, let's start with the fact that this movie single-handedly saved the character Thor from being kind of a third-rate Avenger. And now I know that Honestly, Thor was kind of down there with Hawkeye, even though he's got a lot more potential and power and all that. But like what he actually did and provided to the team that was unique was questionable throughout the rest of the movies. And his first two outings, his first two solo movies were not really that spectacular either. I mean, the first Thor was okay, it's an origin movie, whatever. Didn't expect too much out of that, but it established the character. And then Thor: Dark World was it's almost universally panned
It's
as the
regarded as
worst,
one of the
the
worst in the MCU.
if
Yes.
not the worst, at least one of the worst in the MCU. Um, and I think a lot of that has to do with the tone of the movies being so different than the other Marvel films, where they take themselves very seriously in a weird way. Like, because as much as they're on other worlds and these crazy epic, like, styles of armor and the big castles of Asgard and, stuff like that, it's just so out there that it's not really believable. It's not like Guardians of the Galaxy where the characters are what, draw you in and you make it relatable, and the humor and all that, which is what they did with this movie. Is they brought in a lot of the humor to
Mm-hmm.
help make Thor more relatable. So it saved Thor and made him a character who is now equal with in importance to Tony Stark and Captain America, which is what it was supposed to do. Because he was kind of there, they have the three of them in the first Avengers movie meeting in the woods, and
Yeah.
they're kind of like the three main Avengers who are supposed to be establishing this team. But Thor never really seemed, as much as he outdid them all in power, he never really seemed to be a character that was interesting enough to hold his own amongst those characters. So this movie saved him from that, and it made as out there as the worlds were in this movie, as crazy as Sakaar was, as crazy and big as everything is, it actually made his world more believable in a way, just because the reactions of the secondary characters. You had people in the background who were struggling and who were humans, and who were failing and dying. And, there's actually a heft to everything that happened. Whereas in the first two Thor movies, you didn't really have that. You go to the ice world where they're fighting the ice giants, but it's kind of just a cool battle sequence. You don't really see like there being a real dramatic thing going on between the ice giants and the fact that Loki's finding out that he's one of them in that sequence. That there's kind of it's not the same because it's just so big and epic that it doesn't seem to have the same weight to it. And same thing with Thor: Dark World. It's just so big and out there that they didn't bring in the human element enough to it. Whereas this movie brings in that human element, the actual cost of life. It
Yeah.
humbles Thor, so
Yeah.
that there's actually a price for the actions that he has. And that goes on to my second point, which is the theme of this movie matching the theme of phase 3, because phase 3 has like this overarching theme from what is it, Civil War. With the Civil War, Guardians 2, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Ragnarok, and Black Panther all have a very similar theme, which is the past coming back to haunt the heroes. So in Civil War, they're dealing with the direct actions of the Avengers causing trouble for them, and the things that the Winter Soldier doing and did in the past, and then defending him, causing a rift between Captain America and Tony. Guardians 2, you're dealing with his father, him realizing, Quill realizing who he is, and his father being the villain and being this ego monster, basically, who's causing destruction. Spider-Man: Homecoming, the villain from that is directly created by Tony Stark, and the fact that he wipes out this guy's company just with a flick of his hand because he decides to take care of the cleanup rather than letting this guy who set up all the accounts to do it himself. Vulture is a direct result of Tony Stark. And then, Ragnarok, I mean, Black Panther, obviously the same thing with his father having killed um, Killmonger's father. And then Ragnarok is the same thing, but this one, it matches the theme of The Patriot, which is one of my favorite movies. And that is that the sins of the father come back to haunt the son. So the sins of the father are being revisited on the son. So the mistakes that Odin made, Thor and Loki are now having to deal with Hela. So I just thought that was a very strong theme to really, it humbled the character, made him more relatable. Destroying his hammer was a somewhat brilliant move because it kind of, everything in his world that could be shaken was shaken.
Yeah.
So now, wow, what do we do with this character? Who is Thor without all these protections around him? And this is kind of the point where Thor grows up and reaches his maturity and becomes a man of his own regard. He becomes his own king. And that's where leads me in my third point of the emotional beats and them being in many ways saved by humor. Because I know that a big complaint is the fact that humor ruins the emotional beats in this movie. Like every time that there's something serious happening, boom, there's something funny that happens that kind of ruins it. Yeah. And I think that is true on Sakaar, but the heaviness that you have, that you're dealing with Hela, there's no humor that saves Hela when she's fighting. When she's fighting the his friends, who she just wipes out right there. And what's the guy's name? Carl Urban, his character.
Is it one of the three?
Scourge. Scourge, I think it is, who just kind of like, whoa, I'm just a janitor.
Yeah.
Who kind of like submits to her. And then when they bring the armies all against her and they're fighting her, and she's just wiping them out. There's a heaviness there where you're losing a lot of Asgard's strength, and they don't have humor ruining those beats there. They have her tearing down the temple, and she goes, there's a little bit of humor in
where like
in the treasure room. The treasure room,
he starts telling her his life story, and she's like, no. She stops him, and they have that whole little comedic bit.
Well, there's that, but I'm thinking about like in the treasure room, there's a little bit of humor there where she's like fake, and that's literally just them making up for the mistake they made in the first Thor movie where it was the wrong hand. When they made the Infinity Gauntlet, they made it for the wrong hand because it was supposed to be the left-handed, but it's a right-handed glove. And they're like, and all the fans were like, the Infinity Gauntlet's a left-handed glove, not a right-handed glove. What are they doing? So they just kind of made it. Otherwise, I think there would have been a plot line where Thor had to attack Asgard and get it. Not Thor. Thanos would have had to attack Asgard to get the gauntlet, but instead, he just already had it. So and Thor realizing who he is, those beats aren't really defeated. When he's getting beaten by, they're not pockmarked by humor. When he's getting beat by the Hulk and he's having the visions of his father, there's not humor to interrupt those emotional beats. There's humor maybe after it, maybe around it, but the actual emotional beat of the serious parts, it's not really destroyed there. There's humor destroying other things that are just sounding dramatic, but aren't really relevant. Like when Thor is like, well, this is what heroes do. And he throws the ball at the glass to try and break it. And then it bounces back. And it's like, okay, you're kind of being pompous. This is what heroes do. Like, give me a break, dude. And it hits him back in the head. That there's humor there to break up the fact of like, things don't always go as you plan. And it makes him more relatable, I feel.
Yeah.
But those are my three main points. The theme, the saving the Thor franchise, and making the character more relatable, and then the humor being used in a way to save the emotional beats, because the humor is used in a way to mark the non-real emotional beats, but the real heaviness isn't marred with the humor.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's my argument for why Thor is good.
Yeah, yeah, there are definitely some good points. I actually agree with a lot of that. Definitely not all of it, but a lot of that. I uh, I think this movie has a lot of good material in it. But unlike what you were saying, I think it is overshadowed by the constant and unrelenting notion of trying to infuse a comedy bit into almost every other line. Every other line in this movie, it feels like they have to pull out a joke. They got to pull out a joke, or else it's just it doesn't fit in. You know, it's not a Thor movie if you're not inserting a joke here and a joke there. And so you were talking about the style and tone of this movie is so it's a dramatic departure from the first two movies. And I use
Mm-hmm.
dramatic as a kind of a play on words here because this movie, um, there's, there is drama in the movie, but it's so overshadowed by the comedy. This is how do I want to say this? This is a comedy movie that is surrounded, it's a comedy movie that has some dramatic moments infused into it instead of being a dramatic movie with comedic bits inserted into it. I
Mm-hmm.
actually liked the more serious tones of the first two Thor movies. I will agree, the second Thor is not a great movie. It's definitely the bottom third tier of the MCU. The first Thor movie is actually one of my favorites in the MCU, to be honest. I really love the first Thor. And I thought what the first Thor did was it had a good balance of presenting serious situations, having that good dramatic element to it, but still putting comedic bits into it. There's a lot of good humorous material still in the first Thor movie, but it's not anchored by the comedy. You know, the drama is what is the actual anchor point for it. Whereas in this movie, it's 90% comedy, 10% put in the drama bits here and there, sprinkle them in, you know. And I'm more of the opposite, you know. Uh, and again, in this movie, Thor goes through a lot. He loses a lot in this movie. Odin dies, his own father dies, his hammer is destroyed by Hela. Asgard is destroyed in the very end. His one eye is taken out, and he loses Jane. So all these things that are huge that happen to him as a character are things that more happens to him in this movie than the other two movies combined. One would argue
Mm-hmm.
easily, but it doesn't feel like that, does it? It doesn't feel like that because so much of the movie is a comedy that it just doesn't feel like he actually loses anything because so much of it is just a straight up comedy. When you leave the theater or when you're finished watching the movie, you're not going to remember all the stuff that he actually lost. You're just going to remember the funny stuff that happened in the movie. And it's a personal preference. If you're someone who loves the comedic bits, and you're not as concerned about having the dramatic moments in the movies, like that's one thing. But I'm someone who I love the darker thematic stuff in the MCU movies. Even the more serious stuff, like Captain America: Winter Soldier, is one of the best movies in the MCU. Civil War, I think, had a great balance of comedy and drama. Infinity War, honestly, Infinity War to me is probably next to Iron Man my second favorite in the MCU. I would argue because Infinity War did just a fantastic job of still having the comedy, plenty of comedy in it, great humorous moments, but at the forefront putting in so many dramatic character moments that focused on the relationships between characters. I'm thinking between Rocket and Thor, like even the most unlikely characters, the relationship between Rocket and Thor, and all these different characters, even the relationship between Thanos and Gamora, investigating that. Like Infinity War was a great MCU movie. It did a fantastic job of balancing that, and this movie Ragnarok just goes completely over the top and just puts too much into it. Is it a fun movie? Absolutely. I don't think there's anyone out there who's going to deny this is not a fun movie. It's undeniably fun. It's hugely entertaining. And one of the pros I have for the movie is this is probably the most rewatchable MCU movie out there. Like, I don't know which MCU movie out there is more rewatchable than Thor Ragnarok. But that doesn't mean it's a great movie or a great MCU movie or the greatest MCU movie. It doesn't mean that at all. It means it's rewatchable. And
But why would you rewatch it if it's not good?
I mean, it's rewatchable in the fact that it's funny and it has memorable scenes. But when you scrap all the comedy away from it, what are you left with? You know, I mean,
You're left with Thor actually having an arc where he grows instead of just, flat lines and stays the same, I am a god already super powerful.
I mean, he grew immensely in the first movie from being the selfish, arrogant guy to being a humble god. You know, he grew immensely in the first movie. I can't
But
speak
he
too
hasn't
much in the
really had much
second.
growth in anything else.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Dark World, not a great one, but
You see, the reason I think it was so important that this movie saved Thor is because I'm pretty sure we expected Thor to be done after Endgame. Just like Iron Man was going to be done, just like Captain America. Like, we kind of knew that we're coming to this point where they were all going to be done.
yeah,
And without this movie, Thor being done, we would have felt cheated because there was just this thing where it's like, well, Thor just didn't, he didn't really have that huge story. He didn't really matter as much. He would have kind of like fizzled out. Whereas Tony leaving the way he left, it was like, wow, epic. Captain America leaving the way he left, wow, epic. But Thor leaving after Endgame would have just been like, okay. I mean, he's done enough movies, so he's out of here. But this revitalized the character to the point where they're making another movie, and he's going to probably be in even more MCU stuff, as he should be, because he's immortal. He's like, well, not immortal, but going to probably live for a very long time.
yeah. Who was it? Yes, I did indeed watch the pitch meeting for this movie, and when they were talking about Thor's character, you know what? It's a good point that his character is so dramatically different that he doesn't even feel like the same person. He is a mix between the original Thor and Chris Hemsworth from Ghostbusters, that terrible Ghostbusters remake that came out where he was this dunce character just thrown in there straightly for comedic relief. I mean, the Thor in this movie, he's a bumbling character. He's often dumber in many scenes than what he was. He loses some intelligence in the movie, I think. The opening scene in this movie is absolutely ludicrous. I mean, it starts out with him hanging from a chain, talking to a skeleton, to just a skeleton, just himself. Just picture that. He's just talking, and like the pitch meeting mentioned, like, who is he talking to this for? Is he going insane, or what is actually happening here? It just and him turning around and making that joke twice, like, it's way too drawn out. It's just I mean, it was
See,
funny.
I thought the
first
skeleton
time.
thing was good, and this is why I thought it was good, because it made you think he was talking to us.
Yes,
like
I do
movies.
agree. That was a clever bit.
So then it was like, oh, wow, he's talking to us. This is kind of weird, telling us the story of how he got here. Then, oh, no, he's not. Okay.
Yeah,
It also kind of set the tone that this is going to be a different Thor movie. It's still going to have
very
the
different Thor. Yes,
epic, big craziness in it, but also have, slightly different emotional beats where it's going to be, they're going to have some funnier stuff to just make the character more relatable.
yeah,
But I guess I've said that already.
you did.
The stuff. Go ahead.
I was going to talk about something else. You go ahead.
Oh, I was going to talk about when he comes to Asgard and that whole scene with him outing Loki because he knows his brother so well that, I just thought that was pure relational gold between the two brothers. It was, you're going to make me do it. You're going to make me do it, aren't you? So he throws the hammer out and then puts his hand behind Loki's head. I also love the fact that Matt Damon is in the MCU.
Reenactment. There's cameos from Damon and Luke Hemsworth. Damon is Loki, and Luke Hemsworth is Thor.
And then Sam Neill.
And Sam Neill is in there. And while
Yes.
this scene is undoubtedly funny, it's literally mocking the seriousness of the first two Thor movies. And I don't like that. Is it funny? Absolutely. I laugh at it still. I laughed at it when I was watching the movie last night. But it's just, it's still at the end, it's still mocking the seriousness of the first two movies, and it doesn't quite suit well with
See, I
me.
didn't
I'm
really see
sorry.
it mocking the first two movies. I thought it was more just showing what Loki has done to Asgard. He's literally made it this testament to his own
Yeah, you can argue
ego.
that too.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, because the scene that they reenact is, obviously it's Loki's death scene from Thor: The Dark World, and I
Hmm.
actually liked that scene in Thor: The Dark World. I actually thought that was a nice, powerful scene from
Hmm.
Loki and Thor, with because Thor actually thought that Loki would this time was actually die, and of course he didn't actually die, but in that moment he actually thought he did, and I thought it was just a great moment. And here they totally mock the legitimacy of that
Well,
scene.
that's the thing is they also kind of ruined that scene in that movie by having it. Oh, Loki's not actually gone; he's taken over the throne secretly at the end. So it's kind of like it's just that
Yeah.
thing where if you don't make death matter, then death doesn't matter.
Hmm.
So they had kind of ruined the death scene in the movie itself.
Yeah,
I
I,
feel,
s- mm,
but I mean, it is
I
like
just
Loki's mo, and I
it
think it's
is,
helped
yeah.
build into his character of like who he is. I love the fact that Loki went to backstab Thor again, and
And
this
this time
time
Thor was prepared
Thor's
for it.
ready. Thor's
Yeah,
ready for it,
yeah.
and I just thought that was like so good.
And I will say I do love, like I was mentioned earlier, I love Jeff Goldblum's character. Goldblum's character in this,
Hmm.
he steals every scene he's in. I mean, as the Grandmaster, he steals every single scene he's in. I love him. There's some great moments here between Thor and Loki and the Hulk. But ultimately, it's just all too much. I feel like it's out of balance, as Thanos would say. See what I did there?
Yeah.
It's just out of balance.
You do know that Thanos is the villain, though,
I do
right?
indeed.
Okay.
Hey, the first Thor did a good job of inserting these comedic moments, but not letting them take control of the film or story. Whereas in this, you still felt the drama, but in this movie, it just takes control. And one thing, there was a joke about orgies in this movie. I think that joke is out of place. I really, really do. I think it's a bit out of place because this is a movie that 10-year-olds are going to see, and even below that, even though it's PG-13, this is going to be a family movie. I just feel like that's pushing it a bit too much there. It feels a bit out of place. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
I Yeah, because you're gonna have kids asking, "Mommy, what's an orgy?" Like you don't want to deal with that. Who wants to deal with that?
You have to deal with that anyways.
Yeah, I
But
just
yeah,
felt like it
I
was a
do
bit,
understand. Yeah.
a bit much. I think. Um, Yeah. Also, okay, some other negatives. So Natalie Portman's character is completely thrown away in this movie. She is literally thrown away in a 10-second throwaway joke. She's completely tossed to the side where basically Thor says that she dumped, or someone else says, I think of Loki, that she
Oh,
dumped
sorry.
she dumped him, and Thor
Sorry,
says
sorry, Jane jumped you. And he goes, she didn't dump me.
it's
I
a
dumped
mutual
her. It's a
mutual
mutual
dumping.
dumping.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's it. And these were two characters from the first two movies that this
But
relationship was built up in two movies, and there it's just
that's
gone.
Natalie Portman's fault, though. Like, what were they supposed to do? She refused to come back. She didn't want to do the movies anymore. Like, are they supposed to,
I
like,
don't know.
what are they supposed to do? Have her
I don't
killed off?
have her die from cancer or
Have her
something.
consistently be in the background of like, oh yeah, we've protected her, she's safe. Oh yeah, that
Have
she's off
her
doing some other thing. You
Yes, I
know,
don't know, something else. It just did not suit right with me. There had to be some other way. And she's
so I
coming back
think
for
they
Thor:
finally
Love and
made Thor.
Thunder.
Yeah, which is good. Like, they finally threw enough money at her to get her to come back. Uh, I
Yeah,
just think
I
like it
didn't like.
made Thor a interesting character who you actually want to watch. Whereas I think with the other Thor movies, Loki was the character who you actually cared to watch. Jane was a character who you actually cared to watch. Um, Kat Dennings, what was her character's name? Everyone around, all the sub characters, all the secondary characters were basically better, more interesting characters than Thor. Thor was just so one dimensional that
Oh,
he wasn't really fun to watch. Whereas in this
yeah.
movie, he's finally got some depth, some humor, some more to him than I am
Hmm.
Thor, God of Thunder.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally stripped him of that title, Lord of Thunder. It's God of Thunder, you know.
Right. Yeah. They did that about 3 times. Four, maybe four. Actually don't know. Um, another problem I had, the Warriors 3, Asgardians warriors that were with Thor for
Mm-hmm.
the first 2 movies are still in this movie, the third one. They are killed off in a shocking way, whenever Hela
Mm-hmm.
arrives, which I agree it's impactful. She just completely slaughters them in just a shocking scene.
Yeah.
But Thor never finds out about it. They never acknowledge that he ever found out about it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a bit of a travesty because they were his close friends and he never even finds out about it. And I know why. Because it would have inserted a little bit too much drama into this movie, and they have to keep up with the comedy. They can't insert anything of him actually feeling something. They don't let him dare actually feel something in this movie. Otherwise, you're going to lose the comedy of this movie. Some missed opportunities I feel here. I I just yeah, I just I kind of cringe at that because they were his close friends, and just nothing happens from that. She kills them. That's it. They're gone. All right, and he never even finds out about it. Um, what else? Oh, and you want to talk one dimensional? How about the antagonist of this movie? Let's investigate Hela here. So, talk about a flat, one-dimensional antagonist. Look no further than Hela, played
Then
by
Thor 2.
Kate Blanchett. Like I said, Thor: Dark World, not a great movie. I'll acknowledge the villains weak in that one too. But if you look at the first Thor, Loki is a villain. A lot to work with there. Here,
Mm-hmm.
Hela is just straight up evil. She's just a straight up evil character, and there's nothing. She is a very boring antagonist to me. She is very boring. The only exciting thing about her is that she's the sister of Thor and Loki. That's the only exciting thing about her. That's it. That's literally it. She's just power hungry, and uh, as the pitch meeting points out, she's evil, super evil, and that's what we've got to work with, folks. We got a super evil antagonist. Oof, that's interesting.
I mean, that's
Um,
just Marvel villains, though.
but not
Marvel
all of them. Not all of
literally.
them are like that.
Which ones weren't? Like
Like if you look at
Thanos is like the
Captain
first
America,
deep villain they had.
you look at Winter Soldier. If you look at even Silver War, if you look at um, which one I was thinking of? Oh, I'm drawing a blank.
Zemo and Civil War you're talking about? Or
Yeah. Even Zemo has more than Hela. Um, even Iron Man 3, even though he gets ragged on a lot, he has more than what Hela does. Yeah, I know, right? Even even
I
he,
don't agree. I
even
don't
even
agree with
even
that at
he
all.
even
That
he
guy was
has more
just
than
like
Hela. At least they
lame. Oh,
at
I'm a
least
nerd who was spurned by Tony Stark, so I
at,
made superpowers
at
to
least they provide a backstory for him a little bit. There's nothing here. They do like a
you
10
see.
second of her being
I
given
thought the
background with
way they
Odin.
did her backstory was epic
Yeah,
because they have Loki, when he grabs Valkyrie's head and he
yeah,
gets into her memories of it, and the fact that they showed us rather than just giving us some lame dialogue of what happened, and they showed us, and I thought was one of the best scenes in this movie is how they showed how Hela being, how them coming against Hela and Valkyrie's backstory and Hela's backstory. I just
yeah,
thought that was a really great scene
yeah.
where they showed us instead of just telling us, and they didn't
Hmm.
even use much dialogue in that scene at all. It was just like, it was just a beautiful scene.
Yeah. Even like even Thanos. Okay, Thanos, as powerful as he is, he's actually a fleshed out villain. Like they did an amazing job with Thanos because he has the motivations. You provide a little bit of backstory on him. You understand that why he's doing what he's doing, and you realize that he believes he's doing, he believes he's doing the right thing, and
Mhm.
you can get behind that, and that's something that you just get nothing with that here with Hela. There's just nothing to grab onto, Um, it's just, yeah,
Hella
it's just
is
very
like,
weak. It's lazy writing, I feel, to just provide a one-dimensional evil villain. Like, oh, it's just boring. It's just
I
boring.
think that's only bad if you don't believe evil exists.
Hmm.
So I mean, that's my always been my problem, is the fact that I do believe that there is actually evil in the world. Not that I think that. Yeah, no, yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah,
So there are people out there who are just messed up and sadistic, and she's one of them.
yeah. It still doesn't make it that interesting. It's more interesting though if you put a little more meat onto the bones, so to speak.
Mm.
But anyway, also her crown is ridiculous. I hate her crown. Just saying that.
It gets bigger every
I've
time.
never been. She looks like a big deer, like a big buck is what she looks like. I just don't like a crown. That's just a side note. Just a little side note. Yeah. The only other pros I had was that I think you mentioned when you mentioned your pros, the Odin's death scene where he's there, on the shores of Norway with Loki and Odin, where he mentioned his sons, and you get that look from Loki that he actually gets some, he feels some acceptance from Odin for once. Like, that's honestly the best dramatic scene in the movie is that scene between Odin, Thor, and Loki. So I love that scene. That's
And
great.
it wasn't destroyed with humor.
It wasn't destroyed with humor. Look at that. Look how effective it was. If only they had done that for I don't know, 10 other scenes. Well, just think about how good this movie could have been, But no. Uh yeah, just so many I think that's kind of what's frustrating to me is there's the material was there, but they just overshadow it so much with all the comedy that they just bury it underneath. They suffocate it all underneath the comedy. But I can see the material there. I can see all these things, the possibilities, but it's all buried beneath it, and I think it's just kind of sad. But
Hmm.
that's my take on Thor Ragnarok. I still enjoy watching the movie. I still rank it like as probably the middle of the MCU. I don't rank it near the first top 3 or 4 movies like a lot of people do, but I'd say it's somewhere in the middle. But it's definitely one that's just one that I find a little frustrating because I'm like they have some actual good material here, but they just botch it on trying to be funny all the time. All the time they try to be funny. So that's my take on Ragnarok.
All right. Got any
So
trivia for us?
I do have some trivia. Uh, for the first one is kind of a weird one here. I was looking at the user reviews on IMDb. The
Hmm.
top review, I don't know how, but this is apparently the top review on IMDb. I'm just going to read it to you here. It's just a paragraph. The title is called "Great for Preschoolers!" exclamation mark. And the person says, "We had our 5-year-old and 3-year-old see it today. It was great. They loved it. It kept their attention the whole time. They got the humorous parts, and it told a pretty common story like Nickelodeon or Sunday morning cartoons. It wasn't too cheesy for us adults either. Although our family does celebrate good family movies together once a week, I think children of all faiths can enjoy this movie. It's not too preachy, nor does it push any, quote, religious agenda. From Heathens." End of review.
You
I
see,
don't know.
that's your top review. My top review is not the same
It's not
thing.
the same.
No,
Okay.
I'm on
Well,
IMDb. That's very
that's good because somehow that
subjective.
is my top review, and the user is called Firemen Are Trashy. I don't, I don't know how that is my top review. I'm very concerned right now. She gave it an
Okay.
she or he gave it an 8 out of 10. By the way, so
All
that
right.
was that was so puzzling to me. I just had to share that. What else? Here's not a surprise. Watiti said in an interview with MTV News, quote, "I would say we improvised probably 80% of the film or ad-libbed and threw in stuff." You don't say. You don't say. I mean, like, you can tell 80% of this movie is ad-libbed. I mean, you can tell.
Yeah, because the characters were
Hmm.
the actors were so deep into their characters. They knew their
They
characters, so
just
they
know
knew
them.
what to say.
Yeah. And this was interesting. I actually did not I did not pick up on this. This was the first time in the MCU that the Incredible Hulk was not voiced by what's his name? Lou
Ferrigno.
Ferrigno, but by Mark Ruffalo.
Hmm.
Ferrigno voiced him in the Incredible Hulk and the Avengers 1 and 2, but did not
Hmm.
voice him for this movie. So that was pretty cool. Waititi appeared in this movie as Korg. I mean, this is one that pretty much everyone knows. Waititi is Korg in this movie. He's the second Marvel director to have a major role in his own movie after Jon Favreau, who uh, was Happy, in the Iron Man
Yeah,
films.
yeah.
So
Korg, I just love the rock paper scissors joke right there
joke, yeah,
because Korg was a rock who was defeated because he didn't print enough pamphlets. So he was literally beat by paper.
by paper,
It's
yeah,
too perfect.
that's Korg. Uh, yeah. Um, During the premiere, I didn't actually know this. Ruffalo was live streamed from his Instagram, and somehow he forgot to end it, so he accidentally filmed the first 10 minutes of the movie through Instagram Live. So if you're one of those lucky people to follow him on Instagram back in, was it
17.
2017? I forgot to tell when this movie was released. It was released in 2017. I forget what month, probably the summer. But
No, it was in
was
the November.
was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was.
So it was later.
Yeah, because it was this movie was at the end of 2017, and then Black Panther came out in February of 2018, and then it was Infinity War.
Yeah, you're right. November 3, 2017. Okay. There you go. Um, Chris Hemsworth put on 20 pounds of muscle for the film. And, of course, he has a shirtless scene in this movie. That's another thing that kind of made me roll my eyes. Of course, he has to have a shirtless scene for no reason whatsoever. He wakes up and he literally walks around the camera. I actually pointed, I froze it just to make sure I was getting this right. They capture him from literally every single angle, just so
Why do you have such a problem with
just
shirtless
just
scenes?
all those teen girls out there can get every angle they need of shirtless
Teen
boobs.
girls?
However,
There's women who want to see that too.
yeah. I guess part of this comes from
It's not like they didn't introduce Black Widow in Avengers with or
yeah,
Iron Man the way they did her. Like,
which
I mean,
Scarlett Johansson has a problem with how they did, showed her character in the first during Iron Man 2,
it's just a
which
problem now. Shouldn't have a problem enough to object to it back then.
exactly. I could get on that
So,
soapbox really easily. I shouldn't, but I don't like when that happens, when women tend to bring up, well, they showed me in this character in this and they presented me in this light. Well, you A, took the role, B, took the money, and C, it was actually motivated in that movie because Tony Stark, he was a playboy at that point, and they were showcasing his point of view of her character. So I think,
and she
and
was purposefully using that
she was
against
using
him.
it, right,
She
she was
was
using
using
it to
that to
her
get close to
advantage.
him. Yeah,
Yeah,
she
like,
was a
so
shield agent who was being put there on
exactly.
purpose. So yeah, I don't understand why you would have a problem with that because it's not like. I mean, if they actually had her have like a sex scene with him or something, that would have been completely out of character and messed up. Like, but I mean,
But no, nothing like that happened.
and yeah, Tony
No.
made an inappropriate comment. Why? Because he's Tony Stark and he's a
He's Tony
douche.
Stark. Yeah. Yeah, that's who he was. That's literally who that was his character. Um, but yeah, anyway, I guess sometimes I feel like there's a double standard between showing guys shirtless and everyone being okay with that, so they can thinking that's cool. But the second that you show, have scantily clad women and men kind of looking at that, then women get
See, I
offended by
look
that. And there's a
well.
double standard here, and that's kind of where I
Yes,
get
there is, but
frustrated a little bit.
I personally think of it the fact of more they're making up for the fact that they already did that with women. I mean, they already
Hmm.
do that, and so it's more of the fact that they now do it with men as well,
Yeah.
and a lot of things.
Okay.
that's where not that I think it's right either way, but it's more the thing of like, well, if you're going to do it with women, then you need to do it with men too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think to me, that's the thing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of view it, but
yeah. Hela was the first female main villain in an MCU movie in this movie. So there's a first there. And my last bit here was Valkyrie's flashback scene. How they filmed this, they used a camera. They used 900 frames per second frame rate and a special 360-degree lighting rig with 200 strobe lights to make the scene as disorienting as possible. So that's how they filmed that, and it was a pretty good flashback scene from her for Valkyrie. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, that's just some trivia. There is so much trivia for this movie. I just kind of tried to narrow it down. So
I mean, they seed so much stuff in the background and so many things with different characters.
Yeah.
It's so.
I mean, it's a Marvel.
Marvel
movie.
is just so thorough in that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, that is Thor Ragnarok.
It is.
You can let us know what your thoughts of the movie are in the comments below, and whether you side more with Mark or with me on this one, or maybe you're somewhere in the middle. You know, who knows? But
yeah, let us know your thoughts. We'd love hearing your thoughts. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, you can always come over to our Facebook page.
Yes,
and leave your thoughts there.
Right. And let's see here. Next week, oh yeah, buckle in, folks, because next week we're doing Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, the best of the Indiana Jones franchise. I'm kidding.
What?
I don't know how I can believe that. That was a joke. That was a joke.
I was like, if he actually believes that, I'm gonna have to
That was a joke.
Tear it apart even more.
My argument is that it's not the worst of the Indiana Jones franchise. So we'll talk
What's
about that.
What's the worst then? Oh my gosh.
Number 2, baby.
You think Temple of Doom is the worst?
Temple of Doom. So we'll discuss why I think that next week. So you stay tuned for that. So, yeah.
We're actually hardcore disagreeing now in the last half of the season. Starting with, I think, Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber was a big one. Yeah,
was the start, and then Twilight was really big. I think, yeah, we're just at this point where it's getting further and further apart.
Yeah, the first half we were pretty much
okay, I can see your point now. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're kind of right about that. But now it's like, dude, you're just wrong.
It's fun. It's getting fun. So,
what else do we have? I mean,
we have. Yeah, let me pull it up here. We have. Crystal Skull, then we have Toy Story 2, then we have X-Men The Last Stand, we have Jojo Rabbit, then Forrest Gump, then Spider-Man Homecoming, and then to end it all, we have The Dark Knight, September 21.
Wow, so we did 3 Phase 3 Marvel movies, so it's not just...
Yeah, we did Black Panther, we did
Thor Ragnarok,
and then we'll do Homecoming.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All right, man.
Alrighty. Well,
this was a longer one.
This was, but I mean, yeah. I kind of expected that with it being an MCU movie. So, alrighty.
I was hoping it wouldn't be. All right.
All right.
Talk to you later.
I'll see you. Stay cool.
Don't have to say that anymore.
Still stay cool.
Stay cool. Thanks for watching this episode of Buddy Movies. If you like what you saw, click here for more episodes. And remember to like, share, and subscribe for all of our latest content. If you really like what we do, consider supporting us on patreon.com/buddymovies. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay cool.